Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. The world is name and form, Nama and the Rupa. And as long as we are caught up in the name and the form, we are samsari. Therefore, you will see throughout the world, we try to remain immortal either by keeping our name. I have donated 1 rupee, so that I am immortal. Or else we make our statue so that I am immortal. It's not that we do it for us, but for others also the same thing. Because Nama and Rupa, this is the world, this is samsara. So, spiritual life is living in the samsara and yet going beyond the limitations of samsara. Padma Patram Masa. Just like the lotus leaf is born in the waters, it is sustained in the waters, and yet the waters do not touch the lotus leaf. In the same manner, we have to live in the name and the form. There is no option. But we have to go beyond the limitations of the names and the forms, beyond the influence of the limitations of the names and the forms. Living in this mode is called as living in meditation. And for that, we have to begin from where we are. So where we are, either we are in the form or we are in the names. Therefore, there are two types of approaches. One is called as Shabdanuviddha Savikalpa Samadhi, and second is called as Drushyanuviddha Savikalpa Samadhi. Shabdanuviddha is the name oriented and Drushyanuviddha is the form oriented. So, for example, we take the Shabdanuviddha, the practice of meditation, keeping sound as the object of support, and thereafter we drop that object and go beyond the sound and the silence. This is the plan. Now, when this plan is properly executed, what happens is, we start going from the gross and the manifest to the subtle and the unmanifest. So, the journey is from gross manifest to the subtle manifest, and ultimately beyond manifestation and unmanifestation. This is the scheme. And it is for this purpose we are told to chant the Lord's name. So the whole thing begins like this. Initially, we are not able to stabilize ourselves with minimum support. So we want a lot of support. So we have the support of the accompaniments, the songs, the stories. So there are so many supports. With those supports, the mind is able to stand. Because like a baby, like a child, the mind is not able to stand suddenly on one leg, so requires wider support. So when the baby is born, tries to remain on the stomach and then slowly the four legs, hands and the feet, and then slowly the two legs, holding with the hand somewhere. In the same manner, the mind is not able to hold on only to one to begin with. So we have so many supports. And that is called as bhajan kirtan. Now in this bhajan kirtan, after it is done for some time, then that bhajan kirtan is dropped and then we take from many supports to now one support in many ways. That one support in many ways is chanting the mantra. So we take any mantra that is given to us, or you choose whatever comes naturally to you. Or every time different mantra, doesn't matter. So we take only one mantra and it is repeated. So, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Now this sound, the mantra is used. What is the purpose of this? Mantra is chanted by speech, Vaikhari Vani, and Vaikhari Vani is nothing but a gross mind. When the mind is grossified to the fullest, it is called as Vaikhari Vani. And this Vaikhari Vani is Parashruti Gochara. Others can hear what we talk. Now I am talking to you by Vaikhari Vani. Vani is nothing but a speech, different stages of speech. The first practice is we chant the Lord's name with a view to control the minds running around. That is the purpose. So, suppose you are doing some chanting already, so do that. Don't stop what you are doing. Otherwise, you will get lost. Suppose you are chanting one or two malas of some mantra, finish it off. And thereafter, then take any short mantra, don't take very long one. And in that, you try to see that no dissimilar thoughts enter when you are chanting the Lord's name. Like Om Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Here we are aware about two things. One is the sound of the mantra. And second thing, is there any dissimilar thought passing in between the two chantings? When we chant once, thereafter we give a gap and try to maintain that absence of the sound for a longer period of time. And when, because of the earlier momentum of the mind, if again some thoughts are likely to enter, fire another bullet. Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Now, in this process, we are not worried about counting the number of times we are chanting Lord's name. Our attention is how long our mind remains in the divine theme. It is something like soaking the mind in the divine theme. Like for washing our clothes, we put the clothes in a detergent powdered water and keep it overnight so that it soaks. And when the soaking takes place, all the dirt, the stubborn dirt, everything gets either dissolved or loosened. And with little efforts, it goes away. Exactly the same way. There is no hurry. And do not have any kind of a military regime. I have to sit for 1 hour. I have to sit. No. Go it with cooperation with the mind. Don't fight with the mind. So we continue doing it by this Vaikhari Vani. So suppose we acquire perfection that we can chant 3 times, and in these 2 gaps between the 3 chanting, there is no dissimilar thought erupting. When we are firm in this, then increase your stamina. Then let us say we make it 5. Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. 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 After this group of 5 times chanting, let there be as long as possible silence heard. When we hear the silence, we drop our hearing ability and enter the mind. When we hear the sounds, the mind enters the ears and hearing ability is born. But when we listen the silence, we drop the ears and therefore the hearing ability, and now we have entered the kingdom of mind. At this stage, one starts getting too much attracted towards the silence. Sounds are not tolerated at all. Little bit of sounds disturbances are enough to upset a person. So we have to go beyond the sound and the silence. And therefore, when we remain in the silence, then observe that whether there is a sound or a silence, sound doesn't add anything to the experience, to the awareness, and silence doesn't take away anything from the experience. Because sound and silence are in relation to each other. Sound is presence, silence is absence of sound. So till such time, this relativity in the experience, joy, absence of joy, sorrows, sound, absence of sound, silence, light, absence of light, darkness, gain, absence of gain, loss. We still continue on this relative world. We have to transcend this dvandva, nirdvandvo nitya sattvastaha niryoga kshema atvavan. Bhagavan tells Arjuna, nirdvandva. These dvandva means the pairs of complementary opposites. They are not pairs of opposite. They are complementary to each other. If there is no silence, sound has no meaning. If there is no sound, the silence has no meaning. If there is no joy, miseries have no meaning. If there is no misery, joy has no meaning. So they complement each other. And these complementary pairs, they are not opposite. These complementary pairs are supported by the awareness which is beyond these complementary opposites. Complementary opposites will be sound is and silence, sound is not. So we recognize the sound in two ways, by presence and absence. But can we have this experience about our being, that I am present or I am absent? We can never have the experience of ourself being absent. And therefore, even to call ourself as present is blasphemy. We are beyond the Sat and Asat. The existence and non-existence. We are beyond the sentient and inert. We are beyond joys and sorrows. This absolute, non-dual, homogeneous, presence is our essential nature. For that, the 24/7 practice is we have to learn to remain indifferent to all that is happening around us 24/7. Our mind reacts because of sheer habit. The reactions are in the form of evaluation, comments, labeling, suggestions, improvement. But when we learn to remain indifferent, all these reactions of the mind come to a halt. Then the mind is like the mirror. As the mirror is both the mirror as well as a glass, in the same way, mind is both the mind as well as consciousness. The mirror creates an illusion of otherness, so also the mind creates an illusion of otherness. And when we remove the mercury oxide on the back side of the glass, the mirror disappears. In the same manner, the wrong notions convert the consciousness into mind. When these wrong notions are removed, mind is consciousness. We are not doing anything. सर्वं कर्माखिलं पार्थ ज्ञाने परिसमाप्यते. In this pure awareness, all efforts, activities, their results, परिसमाप्यते, disappear. When thus the mind has quietened, meaning the wrong notions are slowly scratched out and removed, the relativity becomes redundant. As a result, no thoughts, no actions. Therefore, breathing becomes extremely slow and shallow. Most important observations are there are no efforts, there is no gain or loss, therefore there is no success or failure in meditation. Success and failure is in the area where activities are predominant. Meditation is not an act to be done. It is an experience lived effortlessly. If you want to continue, continue. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ओम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम्